Small towns, places that seem peaceful, where everyone knows your name and the smile you see is always a friendly one. But what if I told you that beneath that calm, hidden behind every wave, every hello, lies a darkness that only reveals itself when it's already too late? A darkness so deep, so twisted, it claws its way to the surface, secrets buried for years, waiting to tear the facade apart. I'll share with you 3 terrifying true stories from small towns. It was a quiet night in Marshall, Minnesota. The kind of night where the world seemed still, wrapped in the darkness of early morning. For Brandon Swanson, a 19-year-old college student, it was supposed to be just another drive home. He had been celebrating the end of the spring semester with friends, a well-earned break after a year of hard work. But that night, something went terribly wrong, and as the minutes turned to hours, a mystery unfolded, one that has remained unsolved to this day. Shortly after midnight on May 14, 2008, Brandon was driving home after a night of celebration in Canby, Minnesota. His parents were used to his late-night drives. After all, he was a responsible young man. But at 1:54 a.m., their phone rang a call that would change their lives forever. Brandon had driven his Chevrolet Lumina into a ditch on a rural gravel road. He wasn't injured, but the car was stuck. He assured his parents, Brian and Annette Swanson, that he was near Lind, a small town southwest of Marshall. With concern but no immediate panic, they set out to pick him up. What followed was a desperate and confusing search. Despite staying on the phone with their son for nearly 47 minutes, they could not find him. He flashed his car lights. They saw nothing. He walked toward what he believed to be the lights of Lind. They never found him. Then at 2:30 a.m., a chilling moment, Brandon suddenly exclaimed, "Oh shit!" The call remained connected, but Brandon was gone. At sunrise, the Swansons reported Brandon missing, but instead of urgency, they were met with indifference. Officers initially dismissed their fears, stating that young men often stayed out all night. "It's his right to be missing," one officer reportedly said. But the Swansons knew their son. Something was terribly wrong. Later that day, investigators uncovered a baffling discrepancy. Brandon's cell phone records placed him near Porter, Minnesota, 25 miles from where he had told his parents he was. His abandoned car was soon found on a remote gravel road near Taunton, miles from Lind in the opposite direction of his supposed location. Had he been disoriented, or was there something or someone else involved? Authorities scoured the surrounding area. Bloodhounds picked up a scent trail leading west-northwest from the car, through fields and past an abandoned farm. The trail led toward the Yellow Medicine River, where it abruptly stopped. Brandon had mentioned hearing running water. Had he fallen in? The river was deeper than usual that night, swollen with spring runoff, dark and fast-moving. If he had slipped, his body should have been found. But despite exhaustive searches with boats, divers, and tracking dogs, nothing was ever recovered. Even more perplexing, one of the dogs tracked a scent that crossed the river and continued along the opposite bank, only to end suddenly on a gravel road. It was as if Brandon had simply vanished into thin air. In the years following his disappearance, many theories have surfaced. Some believe he drowned, taken by the unforgiving currents of the Yellow Medicine River. But without a body, the theory remains just that, a possibility, not a certainty. Others suspect foul play. Could Brandon have encountered someone that night, a stranger, or perhaps someone he knew? There were no signs of a struggle, but the eerie silence that followed his last words continues to haunt those who study the case. Then there's the unsettling idea that Brandon may have intentionally disappeared. Yet those closest to him insist that he had no reason to run. He was a happy, goal-driven young man, making plans for his future. If he had staged his own disappearance, why leave behind his car, his possessions, and his family in agony? Brandon's parents never gave up. They lobbied for change, pushing for Brandon's law, which now requires immediate police action when adults go missing in Minnesota. To this day, their porch light remains on a symbol of hope, a beacon in the darkness, waiting for their son to return. Brandon Swanson disappeared into the night without a trace. No remains, no confirmed sightings, no answers. Just a chilling phone call and the echo of his final words. Oh shit. What did he see? What happened in those final moments? The mystery endures and the question lingers. Where is Brandon Swanson? On a cold October morning in 2009, the Jamison family, Bobby, Sherilyn, and their 6-year-old daughter, Madison, set off on what should have been an exciting new chapter of their lives. They were reportedly traveling to Red Oak, Oklahoma, to inspect a 40-acre plot of land they were considering purchasing. But something went terribly wrong. The family vanished without a trace, leaving behind only chilling clues and a case that would baffle investigators for years. Days after their disappearance, authorities stumbled upon the Jamisons' abandoned pickup truck deep in the isolated terrain of Latimer County, Oklahoma. What they found inside only deepened the mystery. Their malnourished dog, Maisie, was still in the truck, barely clinging to life. Even more puzzling, the family's wallets, IDs, mobile phones, a GPS system, and an astonishing $32,000 in cash were also inside. No signs of struggle, no evidence of a robbery, just a vehicle sitting eerily still in the middle of nowhere. Perhaps the most unnerving piece of evidence was surveillance footage taken from the Jamisons' home on the very day they left. The video captured Bobby and Sherilyn making several silent trips between their home and their truck, loading their belongings in a slow, almost mechanical manner. Their movements were described as trance-like, as if they were under some sort of spell. In one unsettling moment, Sherilyn is seen placing a brown briefcase into the truck, an item that has never been recovered. Adding to the mystery, her handgun was also missing. For 4 long years, their fate remained unknown. Then, in November 2013, 2 hunters made a grim discovery: skeletal remains belonging to 2 adults and a child, hidden in a remote area just 3 miles from where their truck had been found. By July 2014, forensic analysis confirmed what many had feared: the remains belonged to the Jamison family. However, due to the advanced state of decomposition, no cause of death could be determined. The mystery only deepened. Speculation ran wild. Some believed the Jamisons had staged their own deaths to escape financial or personal troubles. Others suspected they had fallen victim to a brutal murder. A more sinister theory suggested they had been involved in drug-related activities, perhaps methamphetamine trafficking, given the large sum of money found in their truck and their reportedly erratic behavior before they vanished. Bobby Jamison had also been engaged in a bitter lawsuit against his father, Bob Dean Jamison, accusing him of making violent threats and attempting to run him over with a car. Bobby had even alleged that his father was involved in organized crime and meth dealing. However, investigators found no solid evidence linking Bob Dean Jamison to his son's disappearance. Another eerie twist to the case involved the family's deep belief in the supernatural. Their local pastor, Gary Brandon, reported that both Bobby and Sherilyn had confided in him about seeing spirits in their home. Bobby had even claimed to be reading the Satanic Bible in an attempt to ward off evil entities. Could their belief in the paranormal have played a role in their fate? Despite countless investigations and widespread media coverage, the case of the Jamison family remains unsolved. Were they victims of foul play? Did they succumb to the harsh elements? Or was something far more sinister at work? The eerie silence of the Oklahoma wilderness keeps its secrets well, and somewhere in the shadows of Red Oak, the truth behind the Jamison family's tragic fate still lingers, waiting to be uncovered. Darkness had begun to settle over the quiet roads of England when two identical Swedish twins, Ursula and Sabina Eriksson, stepped off a bus and into the annals of bizarre criminal history. What followed was a series of inexplicable, horrifying events that would leave investigators, psychiatrists, and the public alike searching for answers that may never fully come. The story of the Eriksson twins is one of mystery, shared psychosis, and violent tragedy. A tale so strange it could easily be mistaken for fiction, if not for the chilling evidence caught on camera. Ursula and Sabina Eriksson, born on November 3, 1967 in Sweden, lived seemingly normal lives. No prior history of mental illness, no criminal records, and no warning signs of the chaos to come. By 2008, Ursula resided in the United States, while Sabina had settled in Ireland with her partner and children. Then, on May 16, 2008, without explanation, Ursula traveled to Ireland to visit her sister. The very next day, the twins left for Liverpool, England, without informing anyone. Their journey was marked by secrecy and erratic behavior. Upon arriving in Liverpool, they approached a police station, seemingly worried about Sabina's children, but their concerns appeared vague and unsubstantiated. At approximately 11:30 a.m., they boarded a National Express coach bound for London. But somewhere along the way, their behavior became so alarming that the driver was forced to make an unscheduled stop at Kiel Services. Clutching their bags tightly, whispering to one another, and refusing a routine baggage check, the twins were left at the service station, their erratic movements catching the attention of staff. The police were called, but upon brief questioning, the officers found no immediate cause for concern and let the women go. No one could have predicted what would happen next. Shortly after being left at Kiel Services, CCTV captured the twins walking along the central reservation of the M6 motorway. Cars swerved, honked, and barely avoided the two figures, clad in dark clothing, oblivious to the deadly traffic around them. Highways England officers soon arrived, intending to remove them from the dangerous roadway. But as the officers attempted to assist, the situation took a terrifying turn. Without warning, Ursula sprinted into the path of a Mercedes-Benz truck traveling at full speed. The impact was catastrophic, crushing her legs and leaving her motionless on the ground. Just seconds later, Sabina followed suit, stepping directly into the path of a Volkswagen Polo. She was violently thrown into the air before crashing back onto the pavement. A camera crew filming for the show Motorway Cops happened to be present, capturing the gruesome events in full detail. As paramedics rushed in, Ursula, despite her broken legs, spat, scratched, and screamed, resisting any form of medical aid. Sabina, miraculously conscious despite her injuries, screamed in terror, shouting warnings of organ theft and unseen threats. "We say in Sweden that an accident rarely comes alone," she whispered to officers later. "Usually at least one more follows, maybe two." Her ominous words would soon prove true. By some inexplicable reasoning, after receiving only minor medical attention, Sabina was released from police custody 5 hours later. Calm, composed, and showing no signs of distress, she wandered the streets of Stoke-on-Trent with no apparent destination. It was then that she encountered 54-year-old Glenn Hollinshead, a kind-hearted man who, seeing a woman in distress, offered her shelter for the night. His friend Peter Malloy was present, and later recalled Sabina's odd behavior, her paranoia, the way she constantly glanced out the window, the way she snatched away cigarettes after offering them, muttering something about poisoning. The next morning, seemingly in better spirits, Sabina joined Hollinshead in preparing breakfast. But by evening, in an act of sudden, unprovoked violence, she grabbed a kitchen knife and stabbed him multiple times. Bleeding profusely, Hollinshead stumbled outside, gasping his final words to a neighbor, "She stabbed me." Moments later, he collapsed and died. Sabina, meanwhile, fled the scene. CCTV captured her frantically running through the streets, clutching a hammer, periodically bashing herself in the head with it. A passing driver, seeing her distress, attempted to intervene only to be struck with a roof tile Sabina had concealed in her pocket. The police finally caught up to her as she leaped from a 40-foot bridge, breaking multiple bones but surviving once again. Despite the shocking nature of these incidents, there was no evidence of drugs or alcohol in the twins' systems. Instead, psychologists proposed the rare phenomenon of folie à deux, a shared psychotic disorder in which delusions and paranoia pass between two closely bonded individuals. But could a shared delusion truly drive two people to such extremes? And why did Sabina, after being seemingly normal for hours, suddenly snap into uncontrollable violence? In court, Sabina pleaded guilty to manslaughter with diminished responsibility. The judge, acknowledging her mental state, sentenced her to just 5 years in prison. She was released in 2011 and quietly returned to Sweden. Ursula, after recovering from her injuries, moved to the United States, where she has since remained out of the public eye. No explanation has ever been fully accepted for the Eriksson twins incident. Was it madness, a supernatural force, or simply a tragic, unexplainable break from reality? Perhaps we will never know. Small towns, they look peaceful, ordinary, safe. But beneath the surface, there are secrets. Some stay buried forever. And others, they force their way back into the light when it's far too late to stop them. These were just 3 stories. But there are more, many more, and you never know which one will surface next.